Chapter 30 to 31 Fate. In response, Pride was engulfed in deep contemplation. Yes, it's him. I've been looking for him for so fucking long. I have sailed blue for blue, searching for him, and now I find him here? And all because I had considered staying here longer. Imagine if I had already left. Perhaps we wouldn't have crossed paths again. I didn't recognize him at first glance, even though he looked familiar. In various forums, I had read that in the future he was even equal to Roger. In others, he was also born with observations hockey and can intensively perceive the intentions as well as the emotions of others. Might it be true? Pride grinned at that. If it is true, he definitely made a good first impression. Pleased to make your acquaintance, all three of them said.
Redfield bow.
It is rather strange. He rescues me even though he had seen the destroyed marine ship, the lying corpses that were scattered all over the place. And despite that, I didn't feel any hostility during his rescue. My observations hockey is both a blessing and a curse. The former as it provides me with a constant assurance as to what others are genuinely feeling, and a curse as I am daily reminded of what a rotten place we live in. Occasionally, I can shallowly hear their inner thoughts. And it truly is disgusting the way humans solely bear ill-intentioned thoughts in their minds. This first led me to believe that humans are only wicked demons in human disguise. He is the first person I have met that has either kind or neutral intentions toward me. I had to witness it firsthand. Children, far from being evil, literally became polluted bit by bit as they grew older. That he has no bad intentions is something I can somehow tolerate. After all, if there is evil, there will be kindness. But why is he not afraid of me? He has already witnessed what I can accomplish, and yet I don't feel any sort of fear in him. I can sense that he is by no means weak, but exactly how strong can he be? No. A man living in this place can't be that strong. Odd. This is happening for the first time. Pride was very keen to get on his good side. If everything he had read was indeed true, he was eager to talk to him. After all, he harbored nothing but goodwill for him. If you don't mind me asking, why were the Marines after you? Redfield sighed. He either acknowledged Pride's strength or just wanted to talk with someone that didn't hold any hidden intentions. Anyway, he told Pride and the children that were also listening everything from the beginning. How he roamed the seas to seek true freedom and to explore the world. Yet he was mistakenly labeled as a pirate. After telling the Marine soldiers that he wasn't one, they were unwilling to listen further and instead attacked him. His following words were, "They were like cockroaches. As soon as they were eliminated, the next ones appeared." According to his statement, more powerful Marine soldiers appeared afterward. Eliminating the forces from Paradise was rather a simple task for him. However, as they sent a rear admiral from the headquarters, it was too much. He had to escape and while doing so knock them out one by one. He managed to flee from Paradise this far, right up to the moment the battle in question took place. Pride listened attentively. As to how or with which means he managed to ascend the stream to the West Blue, he naturally didn't inquire. He was nonetheless puzzled after all. He didn't possess a devil fruit, so how did he accomplish it? By the time Redfield had explained everything from his point of view, Naoki looked petrified. Fear took hold of him. He also planned to explore the oceans later on. What if he also gets mistaken, but isn't as lucky as Redfield and ends up dead? Shaking his head, he quickly tried to suppress these thoughts. You've been through a lot, sigh. The Marines that should symbolize justice and order more or less failed to do so. I mean, some pirates sail through the seas for freedom, as you mentioned. And I've also met such people. Redfield was slightly bewildered. He could sense that he was telling the truth. Who did you meet as such? As curiosity got the upper hand, he too wanted to know. The Roger pirates. Truly fantastic people. I have heard of them. As far as I know, they belong to the strong kind. Maybe I underestimated him. Anyone who knows such people will not be weak. In fact, quite the opposite, thought Redfield. I see, was nevertheless expressed. After that, they talked a bit more and the kids questioned him about his experiences, what he has been through and how the other islands were like. Once everyone ate from their plate and was saturated, both children fell asleep shortly afterward. After getting to know Redfield a bit, he was, according to their assessment, not a bad person. So it was no problem for them to sleep in his presence. Now that only Pride and Redfield were sitting around the campfire, they both enjoyed the tranquility that prevailed. That is, if one wasn't paying attention to Naoki's snoring. The tension grew in Pride, and he was excited. After talking with Redfield for hours and getting to know him better, the time had come. Hey Patrick, I know you're pretty strong. What do you think about joining me and becoming the vice captain of my crew? Pride announced with a smirk. No thanks. Why, if I may ask, Once you're in a good condition we can also compete. Then you'll realize that I'm worthy. I mean you have been in the Grand Line yourself. And I am capable of using all 3 types of hockey and I am fully aware that you can use hockey as well. Sigh. I truly appreciate that you retrieved me from the sea and looked after me. However, that doesn't change anything about it. You may as well be Gol D Roger for all I care and my answer would still be no. I'm a loner. I like being by myself. And most of all, I don't let anyone tell me what to do. Oh, I understand. Well, it was worth a try, spoke Pride, albeit a bit dejected. I'll be off to work out. You aren't completely in shape yet. I suggest you to rest some more, said Pride and rose to his feet. After tapping Redfield on the shoulder, he slowly made his way and entered the forest interior. A few minutes later, Pride uprooted a couple of trees as he kicked at them. Fuck. No. His answer was a damn no. So much for God's fucking blessing. Tilde boom tilde. I had planned so much. Tilde boom tilde. Who the hell am I supposed to recruit now? All those that gain similar strength are damn little children or not born yet. Tilde boom tilde. Calm down, Pride, calm down. It was already well known that he is a loner. How did I even think that I would manage to convince him in some way? And his damn response was so certain, it probably would be useless if I asked him on a daily basis. All my excitement and the plans I had forged. Sigh. There's no point in pestering myself about it anymore. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Now I have to look ahead and consider other paths. For all I know, I will be on my own for a long time. Therefore I need to increase my strength, to such an extent that even a Xebec will have some difficulties finishing me off. This was the conclusion Pride reached after he had vented all his rage over the issue. Nevertheless, in order to clear his mind, he ultimately commenced exercising. The next morning dawned. Not a single spot wasn't affected by the sunlight. In comparison to the previous days, today was even warmer. With their blankets laid on the ground, both children spent the night outside. Naoki's tightly closed eyelids twitched. Even though he was sleeping peacefully, something was bothering him. The blaze of the sun struck Naoki with all its zest as he was out in the open. The noises that the animals in the bushes generated only made matters worse. Eventually he also reached his limit. He no longer could bear the intensity he was exposed to. After he dazedly regained awareness, he fumbled with both hands through his eyes and opened them. Glancing around, he noticed something was amiss. Where is Sora? He pondered after spotting that no one was lying on her blanket anymore. Took you long enough. Naoki, surprised at hearing a voice, spun in that direction. Oh, good morning, Patrick. Do you happen to know where Pride and Sora are? He spoke, grinning. Redfield, tossing some firewood into the scorching fire, paid no further attention to Naoki. He looked rather bored and distressed, probably because he still had to take it easy, as he was not yet in his peak condition. They went to the town to get some stuff. Afterward, they planned to hunt down an animal so that we can have a proper breakfast, he replied, while he waved a longer piece of wood through the fire. Sometime later. There you guys are. After Naoki spotted the two, he didn't hesitate long and ran up to them, grinning broadly. You know you sleep way too much, no? Pride's voice called out. Enazen. Look, Pride-san got me this. Smiling, she addressed as she extended her right arm to show off her new wristbands. You've earned this. Smirking, Pride caressed her on the head. Naoki's right brow rose. Why does it seem like you are treating Sora a lot better than me? Shut up. While she's sweet, kind, and just adorable, you're actually just a pain in the ass. Sigh. Naoki surrendered even before the battle began. Dejected, he proceeded in the direction of Redfield and their campfire. Pride and Sora also approached them. After yesterday's incidents, he contemplated a lot and made some decisions. As his footsteps echoed, his voice rang out in unison. Naoki, Sora. After the meal, I have to tell you something. TZ. Redfield, listening to what Pride was spouting, merely twisted his eyes. It reminded him of last night's conversation. Throwback to yesterday night. Pride, perspiring and working out for several hours, attained complete serenity as well as clarity in his mind. It was indeed astonishing. The thoughts whirling through your head and how soothing it is to push yourself to your utmost limits. The sensation of suppressing all thoughts and shutting them down, focusing on only one particular cause. After his workout session, it no longer affected him as much as Redfield said no to him. One might think it had been months since then. That's how it felt for him. Not like a rejection from a few hours ago. Naked, he approached a fountain-like spot that he had recently discovered. With both hands opened, he covered it with plenty of water and poured it over him. He gradually repeated this process. The curse of the devil fruit was evident. Weakness overcame him. However, he was only submerged with his feet. Soon after, he was freed from all the perspiration he produced and was stuck to him. Pride, reapproaching the hut, noticed that Redfield was still around. He remained sticking to his previous seat at the campfire, with his clenched fists beneath his chin and his elbows on his upper thighs. He looked deeply preoccupied. Night descended already upon his return. A rather harmonious contrast prevailed as the fire before him merged with a piercing full moon, illuminating Redfield in a unique way. He detected Pride's presence and turned around. Under fused illumination, his orange eyes seemed even more mystical than they already were. Pride took a seat beside him. He might have looked for another spot to talk, but he was familiar with the children for quite some time now. He knew that once they were sound asleep, nothing could disturb them, least of all two adults merely chatting. Patrick, I had originally planned to depart from the island in around 10 days. However, I came to realize that there is actually nothing holding me on this island anymore. I had a few plans that didn't work out as I would have liked, so it's about time I leave, spoke Pride. All well and fine, but why are you telling me this in particular? Perplexed, Redfield replied. Sigh. Naoki and Sora are both still too young. I have tried to instill as much as I can into Naoki, regarding swordsmanship. Although I could bring him with me on my journeys or teach him further, it isn't in line with my personal ambitions. I also have goals that I want and need to reach. And in the process, the two are unfortunately a hindrance to me, regardless of how much I have embraced them in my heart. Fine. But as I said, why are you telling me this? I am choosing my priorities over them. It would still pain me to discover that something happened to them in my absence and that in fact, I could have prevented it. I understand you're a loner and usually don't associate with others, but can you do me a favor and supervise the kids for a while? I assume you aren't intending to sail for the time being anyways. Due to the Marines, you just have to be with them for a bit, at least until Naoki further honed his techniques. I have to admit, you're very strong yourself. Whether you're proficient in weaponry or not I don't know, but he may learn a lot of other combat techniques from you, Pride stated, glancing melancholically at the radiant moon. Sigh, you got a point. I'm gonna lay low for a while, partly since I need to recover thoroughly, and also as you mentioned, because of the Marines. Besides, the kids are quite likable and it seems they can cook as well. Without your assistance, I would have probably struggled and required a considerable time to get myself ashore and tend to my injuries. Thus, I will comply with your request. I will watch over them, at least until I believe they are capable enough, or they become unbearable. Thanks. I truly appreciate it, Patrick. A throwback end. The prevailing mood was quite gloomy. The two kids perceived that Pride was going to announce something that might make them sorrowful. At least, that's what his demeanor represented. As a result, it was silent as they were preparing their meal. They got the message he didn't feel like talking. Eventually, the meat over the bonfire was roasted to perfection. All of them were sitting around and grabbed a skewer. In utter silence was dined. I'm plain stupid. I also had the option to say nothing and talk with them right after the meal. Why did I do that? Now, due to my announcement, the atmosphere is so weird. If I mention it now, most likely Sora will jump up and rush towards me. Both of them will be grieving and will prevent me from eating altogether. I don't have any choice. So I guess it'll have to wait, at least until I'm satiated. Burp. Pride, consuming most of the skewers, gently caressed his belly. Naoki, Sora, I remember I mentioned something about leaving in 10 days. But the plan has changed. I'm going to leave right away. Sora abruptly arose and rushed towards Pride, as predicted. She threw herself at him and embraced him. Tears poured from her beautiful emerald eyes. Do you have to leave? Can't you stay, Pride-san? Sighing, he returned the embrace. No, I'm afraid I can't, Sora. To his surprise, Naoki also approached him with an embrace. He pushed his head against Pride's coat, to hide benignly the tears that flowed down. He took both kids in his arms and hugged them sincerely. Who would have imagined that except for my previous family and Grandpa Ray, I would cherish other people? To keep it as short and painless as possible, Pride decided to leave the island immediately. He knew the longer it was delayed, the more distressing it would be for them and for his conscience. After several hours, all four of them were on the island's shore, precisely on the location of Pride's boat. The kids were no longer weeping. Their grief was soothed as soon as Pride told them it was not a perpetual farewell and that they will see each other again, even if it was in the distant future. Besides, it made them joyful to hear that Redfield was sticking with them for the time being, even though it was beyond their understanding, as he had no meaningful bond with them, other than spending a few days together. Pride once again embraced both kids as a parting gesture and bid his farewell to Redfield with a handshake. Once he stepped into his boat, a purple shroud enveloped him and he descended onto the ocean. So he's a devil fruit user. Gravitation. Interesting. The seas are dangerous. At the slightest negligence, you might be buried beneath the earth, Redfield said. It was probably his way of saying, take care of yourself. Just hang on, Pride. I will be strong in the future. I even will compete with you in swordsmanship. Then we shall meet again. Naoki yelled after him with great zeal. Pride-san, thank you for everything. I have gained a second older brother within these months. Be careful and stay safe, shouted Sora with a few tears in her eyes. The declarations they made drew a huge smile on Pride's face. Sigh, you midgets, stay safe. Reflecting deeply on it, he found it wasn't that bad after all. I may have lost my future vice captain, but in exchange I have gained a new friend.